Hey, let me ask you something. Have you ever thought to yourself, man, I wish I could get some rando's opinions on like 9 or so games? Well, boy, are you in luck. Chapter 1. I sucked off Satan and managed to get a PS5 at launch. Demon's Souls, not Demon Soul. Am I the only one who thought it was Demon Souls? I thought it was, because like the word demons ends with an S and the word souls starts with an S, so it just kind of blends together. So it sounded like, whatever, who cares? Demon Souls is about as good as you'd expect it to be if you've ever played any one of these games in your lifetime. Bluepoint did a fantastic job upping the visuals to some of, if not the best we've seen to date, at least graphical fidelity wise, even if some of the charm and style of the original might have been lost along the way. Most of my problems with this game are pretty stupid to talk about in hindsight, because this game is technically 12 years old, and I imagine that all my gripes and problems have been talked about at length already. And to most fans, that's probably a good thing. And honestly, I respect Bluepoint's decision to implement minimal changes and respect the original vision of the game. But also, fuck me, please put another bonfire that's closer to King Allant, because that run takes like 3 minutes. I literally timed it because I had to do it so many times. Spending 3 minutes to get back to the fight after you die instead of just hopping right back into it like you know you want to do feels like watching anime with ads. Alongside Demon Souls, I played Miles Morales, The Pathless, and Ghost of Tsushima in that order. But for the sake of making a point, I want to talk about Ghost of Tsushima first. Tsushima. Is it? Do they pronounce the T? Because I feel like the T would be silent, but then I feel like in the game I heard them say it with the T. Can you tell that I'm like the biggest piece of white bread imaginable? Is that obvious yet? Disclaimer: I haven't beaten this game and I don't intend to. Let's talk about why. All right, here's the thing. Oh look, there he is. Ah, what a guy. Love that dude. Listen, I don't like sounding like a contrarian, and I guess I'm not really being one because I don't hate this game. I wouldn't even say I dislike it. I just don't get it. It's not a good feeling when you consume a highly praised piece of media and can't understand for the life of you where that praise comes from. Anyway, what I'm about to say is all my opinion. Don't get mad at me in the comment section. Okay, let's go. Everything this game has to offer is mediocre aside from the visuals, and I don't even think those are as revolutionary as people are saying. It's 2020 now, or at least it was when I played this. You're gonna have to do a little bit more than realistic landscapes to dazzle me now. Gotta take a break from recording, cause my parents are yelling at each other. Happy marriage. It's bizarre to me that in a medium like video games where generic open world games are shit on time and time again, that this game gets a pass. Not just a pass, but people are acting like this game has revolutionized the genre, really breathed new life into it. Sorry, I just don't see it. Ooh, copy and pasted collectibles all over the map, 99% of which no one cares about. Great. Gotta find all the haiku writing posts so I could get another fucking headband. Oh boy, this one's blue this time. Oh, well, I'm okay with mediocre collectibles as long as the gameplay is fun, right? Oh wait, it's not. Okay, that's harsh. It's not terrible. It's not even, I would say, bad. It has its moments. It's fine. It's just fine. But I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I expected a little bit more out of the People's Choice Game of the Year. Sometimes you're gonna wanna mash triangle, sometimes you're gonna wanna mash square, it doesn't really matter, just do either one and you'll win eventually. Oh, actually, fuck all of that, just wait until you get the explosive arrows and grenades and just fucking one-shot the entire group. Like, dude, I played this game on the hardest difficulty, or at least the hardest difficulty that you get when you first start it up, and I would just, like, breeze through fight. Like, it would be this big cinematic, like, oh shit, you're fighting with all your guys, and this fucking group of other guys floods through the doors, like, oh, I don't know if we can take them. And then I'm like, oh, they're all grouped up, cool. It's like, half of them are dead, the rest are on fire, just pick them off really easily, and then you're done. Well, hey, I've dealt with mediocre gameplay before, as long as the story's good, right? Oh wait, choo-choo, here comes the boring train coming to pick up Ghost of Tsushima. This is fucking dumb. Cut this. But don't worry, guys, this open world game finally found a way to stick out from the rest of the crowd. Because not only is the main story boring me to tears, but the side quests are too. Wow, how revolutionary. I swear to God, dude, of all the quest lines in this game, and trust me, there's a lot, they're all so generic and boring, they just bleed into each other in my mind. I can't remember which is which. Save my family, avenge my family, escort my family to safety, kill some Mongols, capture a Mongol base, destroy a Mongol base. You could shoot me with fucking elephant tranquilizers and it wouldn't be as effective at putting me to sleep as this game was. Characters are all wooden and uninteresting. Our main character talks about honor so much that it feels like that one episode of Avatar where they parody themselves.
I don't have time to stuff my face. I must capture the Avatar to regain my honor!
But the thing is, I can excuse a lame story and checklist collectibles copy and pasted over the map. Because the only two things you actually need to make an open world game worthwhile is good combat and fun traversal. This game has neither. Case in point, Miles Morales. Worse writing than the first game without the strong performances to carry it, characters that are so evidently done better elsewhere that the attempts to match them here is almost embarrassing. Everyone connected to Miles is some omni-important person of interest, which really makes him lose that Spider-Man charm of just being a normal kid who has this crazy amount of expectations and responsibilities forced upon him. Mom is an up-and-coming politician that gets targeted during her campaign by supervillains. Dad was a hero cop that died in a bombing. Best friend is a tech genius. Childhood friend is a supervillain gang leader with insane tech and connections of her own. Uncle is a mercenary slash supervillain? All packed within a miniature game that would have worked better as DLC because you can easily beat it in less than 4 hours. Nothing is given time to breathe. Characters change alliances and moods at the drop of a hat and none of it feels earned. But goddamn did I enjoy my time with this game. Web slinging is more fun and expressive than it's ever been, insert overused meme reference here, to the point where I would often just forget about and stray from my objective just to mess around with the tricks in photo mode. The challenge modes serve as stellar ways to flex this expressiveness, gadgets are less abundant and therefore easier to focus on and narrow down the combo possibilities. Combat is similarly a step up in every way from the previous entry. The addition of Miles's Venom that's like fucking Demon Souls all over again. Miles's Venom powers. The addition of Venom powers is supremely satisfying and weighty. Still not sure if there's enough content here to warrant that $50 price tag, but I can't deny how much fun I had with this game. Now, keeping to the theme of open world games, we have the Pathless. Basically take every aspect of this game and describe it as simple yet amazing and job done. Well, almost every aspect, but we'll get to that. Art style? Well, that should be self-evident. Soundtrack? No shit. Boss fights, whoo baby! Traversal, I mean come on. All you do is run and jump while shooting targets, and shooting those targets makes you run and jump even better. And it's one of the most satisfying things I've ever done in my entire life. At first I didn't really know how I was going to describe the boss fights until I saw them described as the final boss to Breath of the Wild, but actually good. And I was like, oh, okay. That Twitter comment just did my job for me, there you go. The composer of the game is this guy, who if you don't know, made the music for this game, so I mean, case in point really. As for things that aren't so good, the puzzles and exploration aren't really anything to write home about, but they get the job done. Again, with the similarities to Breath of the Wild, it's kind of like an entire game made up of Korok seed puzzles. As for the story, it's got all the simplicity, none of the amazingness. I can't tell you for the life of me why voice acting legends like Laura Bailey and Troy Baker play the main protagonist and antagonist respectively, just to rarely talk, and when they do talk, it's in fucking Simlish. Awesome guys, always effective, never sounds goofy at all, totally not a waste of these voice actors' talents. Keep it up. It's weird because everything else in this game that I already mentioned is done so well that it makes me feel like I should care about the story just by association really, but it's super basic. I mean, it's not bad, it's just basic. Next, I decided to play Disco Elysium. I've spent 7 hours on this game and I just now got through the first day, and for the first time ever, I think that's actually a good thing because I'm 100% on board with this story. At least I will be once the Final Cut version drops. Why? Because that version's gonna add voice acting for every single line instead of just selective lines. And call me an auditory learner or whatever, but for me it's easier to retain information if I hear it instead of read it. And Jesus Christ, the amount of information overload in the early stages of this game is insane. Like I said, I'm all on board and I like what I heard, but God, I feel like I need like 8 different degrees and PhDs in this game's universe to understand half of what's going on. There's so many proper nouns and places that you have to remember in this game, but people just bring them up as if they're common knowledge, because they are in the world the game exists in, but not for you, the player. I mean, it helps that the player character has amnesia, so he's just as lost and confused as you are and has to have everyone explain shit to him that should be common knowledge. Even then, it's a lot to keep up with. Those complaints aside, this game really is as good as everyone says it is. Beautiful art style, stellar voice acting that'll only get better with the Final Cut update, deep RPG mechanics that you won't see in a AAA game anytime soon, and sublime writing. Sometimes it can feel a little expository and dry, but for the most part it's so seamlessly woven into the narrative and doled out in a very captivating way that I don't mind the few times where it's not done as interestingly. Risk of Rain 2. Okay, I'm gonna steal another bit from an old Ego Raptor video, so bear with me. If Hades is like a gourmet dessert that changes the way you think about and consume food, then Risk of Rain 2 is like the best bag of potato chips you've ever eaten in your entire life. Your eyes are just kind of glazing over as you shovel it down your mouth without much thought, and you're not really savoring it or writing, voicing, and editing 25-minute long videos on it. But it does hit the spot when you need it to. Not much more to say really, just an old-fashioned, satisfying roguelike with a charming art style and fun item builds. This was supposed to be the part in the video where I talk about how boring the default character is in this game, but apparently the developers agreed with me because they made one of the old characters that used to have to unlock one of the default characters as well. So yeah, quick tip, never play the Commando, play the Huntress, and all the other unlockable characters instead. Oh, and especially try your best to unlock Loader, because Loader can fucking do Attack on Titan grapple hook punch combos, and it's the best thing ever. So yeah, if Hades really wasn't your speed, and you just want a roguelike with characters and item builds that you could really sink your teeth into for hundreds of hours on end, then Risk of Rain 2 is your game. The only critique I really have is that sometimes this game can be pretty visually busy, which is also part of the fun, because I like having 18,000 different enemies and effects and items going off at the same time. I mean, hell, it's why people still like games like Isaac to this day. But even at its most hectic, Isaac never really hurt my eyes like this game can. Regardless, good-ass game, go get it. Unless you don't like roguelikes, then don't get it. But you should have known that by now. Man, it's like 90 degrees where I am right now, and I can't turn the fan on because that'll mess with my recording, and I want to die. Anyway, let's talk about a short hike. I want you to close your eyes and imagine the sentence, "It's the little things that keep you going," somehow became a video game. That's what we're dealing with here. The 2 hours I spent in this game are more memorable than any second I spent in Ghost of Tsushima, which was a sentiment that Rasputin just talked about in his new video, and now I seem unoriginal. Fuck! But I don't know, man. I don't even feel like I should really talk much about this game. Like just take my word for it. Just go play it. I mean, what do you have to lose, right? Like, you're like, oh, I'm scared I'm gonna waste my money on it. It's like, what, $7 right now? And hey, if you're really, really cheap and a bit of a scumbag, you can just get it on Steam, beat it in under 2 hours, and then refund it. I mean, I don't recommend that, but if you're like that much of a little bitch, then yeah, I guess you can go for it. So yeah, just get it, man. Just go around, explore, make some friends, you know, find some little secrets, listen to the music that makes me cry tears of like solid gold that just thump on the ground and sometimes hit my toes and it really hurts. It's just a cozy game. Like, that's another really good way to describe it. It's just cozy. You lay down on a beanbag, turn the lights off maybe, or like open a window and have like that cool breeze come in and just, you know, enjoy life. I mean, look at this cute little pixely effect. And then you could like turn it down so everyone's just these cute little 3D models. Like, come on, tell me this game's not adorable. All right, let's talk about It Takes Two now. I mean, more like shit takes poo, am I right, fella? Let me ask you a question. Do you have a significant other or like at least one friend or maybe a sibling that you don't hate? If yes to any of those, then you should probably play this game with one of them, because it's pretty good. It's just fun co-op mechanics of the game. Honestly, this is another one I feel bad about talking about at length, because one of the most fun parts about this game is just waiting and anticipating the new mechanics and just finally unlocking them as this cute little surprise. And there's so many of them, but none of them ever really feel half-baked. Well, there is one, which I don't feel bad about spoiling, where you just get like fidget spinners and you fly with them, and that's the whole moveset. But yeah, other than that, for the most part, all these mechanics are super fun and well fleshed out. But like even more so than that, the environments in this game. I thought at first the game was really just gonna be normal, everyday locales, but with you as a tiny little doll person, which is enough to make them pretty interesting because, you know, everyday objects are suddenly big threats. But the game also has enough otherworldly elements and locales to really keep it fresh. Also, the base moveset before you get any of the fancy mechanics is really satisfying. There's like a nice dash and sprint and just a ground pound and like a jumping sprint, and it's really satisfying. It's not what I expected from this game. I don't know, maybe it's like a small thing. It's not like Mario Odyssey or anything, but it's nice. Anyway, as for negatives, these two are pretty minor, so if what you've seen so far is already enough to make you want to get the game, then I say go for it, especially because as long as you get one copy, you can have your friend get another copy for free, essentially making the game half the price. Anyway, as I was saying, negatives. So if I haven't made it clear already, this game is obviously beautiful. The one gripe I have with that is the motion capture in the cutscenes. Real quick though, just saying, I don't know dick all about animation, or at least very little. So if you can tell that I'm full of shit from what I'm about to say, then correct me in the comment section, please. And if you can't tell, then still take everything I say with a grain of salt. Okay, cool. From that very limited knowledge, to my understanding, motion capture is used as a tool, not a crutch. You're not supposed to just take raw motion capture data, put it into the game, and be like, all right, job done. Your animators are supposed to go in and add extra animations or fix up the janky looking parts to make it look more fluid. And I feel like this game skipped that step. And I say feel because obviously I haven't fucking worked on the game. I didn't know the process at all. It's just, that's the vibe I get from looking at these cutscenes. It's just all very food fight, you know? And it's even weirder because all the movements are very like exaggerated and cartoonish, but the faces aren't, so it just, there's this disconnect. And even then the movements just somehow feel sluggish, like they're just walking through a pile of mud at all times. I don't know, maybe it's just me. Maybe from watching this footage you get the same feeling I do. Again, up to you. And again, it didn't bug me enough to take away from my enjoyment. Just something I noticed. Okay, second and final gripe before we're done with this section. The ending seemed kind of abrupt. And again, try the game out for yourself. Maybe you won't see it the same way as me. But I don't know, man, like the end of this game, it felt like it was building up to this really climactic set piece. And this game has pretty climactic set pieces already, so you thought this would be like the real exclamation point on the end of this game. But it has nowhere near the emotional punch that's really going for. Resolution 2 also just felt really convenient, and maybe, without going into spoilers, maybe this isn't the type of game to really get into that marriage story type storytelling, you know what I mean? Alright, fuck all those pussy games. Let's talk about Guilty Gear, baby. Alright, obviously this game isn't out yet, I'm just talking based on my beta experiences, and this segment is going to be mostly geared towards newcomers of the series, and kind of newcomers to fighting games too, because if you know anything about fighting games or Guilty Gear, then you already know whether or not you want to get this game. Quick TLDR, if you're like me and you used to bounce off of every fighting game you've ever tried, and you just didn't think the genre was for you, give this game a shot. I think the best, or at least the most successful multiplayer games, are always easy to learn, hard to master. The unfortunate thing with a lot of fighting games, or at least the way a lot of people saw fighting games, is that they were hard to learn, hard to master, and more importantly, hard to just get to a point where you felt satisfied with your skills, even if you weren't going to become a master, you know what I mean? It's kind of like trying to teach yourself how to draw when you're already in your 20s. The only way to really do it is to draw like shit and feel like a stupid toddler for at least a few years before you actually start getting good. And even the most humble people have trouble taking that shot to their ego. And for whatever reason, I just didn't really have that with this game. I mean, yeah, I do have other fighting game experience, but the only one I've gotten even halfway decent at, I'm saying halfway decent with quotation marks, was Dragon Ball FighterZ. But even then, and even with that bias, I still get the vibe that this game will be really fucking good for newcomers. And I don't mean that in the sense that this game is, you know, fucking little baby game with no depth to it at all. I mean, there's enough on the surface here to get you doing the cool, satisfying, and flashy plays, and enough deeper mechanics under the hood that if you decide to stick with the game, you can really get into the nitty gritty. So yeah, if you're like me and the gameplay, character design, or beautiful animations has caught your eye, then give this game a shot. Okay, one more disclaimer. Alright, brief fighting game history overview, go. So for the longest time, most fighting games had dookie shit online. And then some dudes from America were like, hey, we came up with a fix for the shitty online, and we love fighting games so much that we're just gonna give it out to the public. Any developer can come take it, come on guys. And then all the Japanese developers were like, who the fuck do you think you are? Suck my balls, I'm gonna take your netcode, Jesus. And then after enough complaining, the Street Fighter devs were like, okay fine, get off our dick, we'll implement the netcode. But it was implemented in such a garbage way that it's arguably even worse than the old shitty netcode. And then after even more whining, eventually the devs of Guilty Gear were like, okay fine, we'll actually implement the netcode and make it good this time. But then a finger on the monkey paw curled, and we got that stellar cross-continental connectivity, as well as the most like Neanderthal-brained matchmaking and lobby system you've ever seen in your entire life. And I'd like to tell you, hey, this is a hassle now, but obviously they're gonna fix it within like a few months max, right? Because enough people have been complaining that, yeah, of course they're gonna fix it. But Street Fighter V came out over 5 years ago and is still getting updates, and the netcode still blows ass. So, I wouldn't count on it. Okay, I think that's finally everything. But Jams, what about the story mode? I come to fighting games for story mode. I play games like Mortal Kombat and Injustice. I want a rich story mode. Boy, are you gonna be disappointed. Yeah, check it, nerd. This game's story mode is a 5-hour-long cutscene with no gameplay. And you're not gonna understand a lick of it unless you read up on like pages and pages and hours of lore like you're fucking studying up for the next Kingdom Hearts games. It's convoluted and stupid as hell. But also, there's a character named Gold Lewis Dickinson, and every time he walks, it makes like a fucking Jurassic Park footstep sound, and he has glasses where one of the lenses is like a lipstick stain, and he wields a coffin on a chain of an alien, like an Area 51 alien, and he catches an RPG with his bare hands and then throws it like a sack of potatoes. So, yeah, game of the year. Anyway, that's the video. Sorry it took me entirely way too long to make this remarkably simple video. I don't have an excuse. I'm just a lazy piece of shit. Hey, thanks for watching, and take it easy.